Stand up, take your mat and walk. I spent the first 4 days of this past week at an intensive training in a couples therapy model called emotionally focused therapy. And let me tell you, the name is apt, emotional. Based on the science of attachment, that we're wired to seek comfort, safety, and emotional attunement as children from our caregivers and as adults from our partners. EFT requires a lot of very intense work to repair broken attachment in couples so that they can become what's called the safe haven and secure base that truly nourishes their connection with each other. It's exhausting to watch in video demonstrations just because there's so much emotion in the room, and to practice, even in pretend role plays. On top of that, the work tends to stir up painful spots in the therapist's own upbringing or parenting or romantic partnerships. It certainly did for me. Old wounds and disappointments, unmet yearnings for connection, ways I felt left alone when I most needed support, and ways that I turned away from loved ones in their time of need. Painful stuff. So I come off of this emotionally raw 4-day week, and now it's Friday morning. I'm in the middle of a Zoom meeting with some fellow clergy when my youngest starts frantically calling my cell phone and texting me. Now, I will admit, my first feeling was irritation. Devon's communication style with her parents tends toward the insistent and usually concerns matters that carry much greater weight in her world than in ours. In this case, though, she did not need me to Venmo her a loan for the pair of limited edition Nike Air Force Ones about to drop online. No, this time, a pothole on the highway had ripped open her tire. Well, actually, my tire. And she had no idea what to do. So still a bit grumbly, I leave the meeting, call her back, make sure she's pulled well over on the shoulder with the hazards on, and tell her where to find the insurance card and the phone number to call. I get back on my meeting. 2 minutes later, she calls again. This happens a couple of times. What kind of tires do we have? And where should she have it towed to? And Dad, it's boiling. Are they seriously going to take 45 minutes to get here? My annoyance is growing until it hits me. Attachment. Beneath all those questions and complaints is a need for reassurance and connection because she's unsure and scared. She's never done this before. I am her safe haven and secure base. I take a deep breath, I let go of my impatience to get back into my meeting, and change my tone. I know this sucks, I say. This is one of those no fun adult experiences that we all have to go through from time to time, but you can handle it, and I'll be here to help you. I tell her to open windows and sit on the car's shady side. We strategize, calling around to tire places to find one with the right size tire to tow the car to. And then once we've done all that and the logistics are worked out, I ask her, do you want me to drive out there and wait with you? There's a fine line I'm trying to walk here. I'm not rescuing her. I'm not offering to take her place and let her drive home in the other car. But I am letting her know that I see what she's going through. I'm offering to be with her in it. Her voice slows and relaxes, and she replies, no, I'll be all right. I'll text you when the truck arrives. I'm not sharing this story, to nominate myself for Dad of the Year. Believe me, I get this attachment thing wrong all the time. But I'm sharing it because I think it speaks to Jesus's healing of the paralyzed man in today's gospel. Like Devin, the man is suffering from his own bout of helplessness. The difference is he's been stuck in that place for 38 years. For 38 years, he's been sitting next to the pool of Bethzatha, hoping to heal his paralysis by being the first one into the water when it gets stirred up. But every single time, someone beats him in. Every single time for 38 years. That's not just a bout of bad luck. That's a way of life. Which is why I think Jesus first asks the man this blunt but loving question. Do you want to be made well? Do you actually want health and wholeness and responsibility? Or is there something in the current of things, or is there something in the current state of things that you're not ready to let go of? I think of that old New Yorker cartoon where a patient sits on an examining table and with a sly grin says to his doctor, "Please, doc, nothing too aggressive. I'm kind of attached to my symptoms." Sure enough, the paralyzed man's response reveals the deeper issue. "I have no one to put me into the pool," he tells Jesus. "I have no one to put me into the pool." Really? No loved one at all? No fellow bather you've made friends with? No sibling or parent to be with you in your distress and to help you find healing? No one for 38 years? Think about what this must mean. How profoundly alone the man is. How much his physical paralysis is really an expression of his social paralysis. How he must suffer from such a lack of relationships, and how he must yearn for human connection. This is the brokenness that Jesus encounters in the man. And I can't help but read Jesus's healing of him as being like the rebuilding of secure attachment. In asking if he wants to be made well, Jesus is letting the man know that he sees him in his pain of loneliness, but also in the passivity that clings to his bad luck story, maybe because it's comfortable or at least familiar. Then when the man complains that he has no one to put him in the pool, that he has no one, period, Jesus walks that fine line that I had to walk with my daughter. Stand up. Take your mat and walk, he says. He doesn't rescue the man, but he also doesn't turn away from him. He stays with him. He lets the man know that he sees what he's going through, and he insists that the man take an active role in his own restoration. Stand up. In this loving way, Jesus becomes the man's safe haven and secure base. And at once, the man was made well, and he took up his mat and began to walk. That's the power of our attachment wiring as humans, a power miraculously shaped by Jesus as he restores the man to life and to community at the same time. In fact, maybe the man was paralyzed as much by shame and fear and isolation as by any physical condition. And you know, when we find our own smaller ways to offer security and acknowledgement, to become safe haven and secure base to one another, we are truly acting with his hands and speaking with his voice, just as he commanded us to do. As for the attachment system between me and my daughter, once we dropped the car off, I figured we might as well make the best of this disruption in our day and grabbed lunch at Panera before I drove her home. I was buying. She was not opposed. So we had a really precious time catching up on her gossip, just talking about this and that. Looking at her at one point, I remarked to myself how her face has matured and softened into young womanhood. I was pleased that she'd gained this valuable experience learning how to navigate roadside assistance. And I hoped that she'd experienced me as supportive and present, her safe haven and secure base along the way. As we cleared our trays and headed back out to the car, I made one last mental note to myself. Must teach Devin how to change a tire. Amen.